Example 1, solving equations. So now let's go ahead and try it out. So A of example 1 says solve x over 3 equals -6. Okay, go ahead and write that down. So the first step that you do when you begin to solve equations is you write the equation. So let's rewrite it. Do not forget any piece of it. Do not forget that negative. Awesome. X over 3 equals -6. Now I'm going to narrate that down. Write the equation. That is step 1. Please use another color, pen, or highlighter to write those steps. Write the equation. Awesome. Now, the second step is to use the multiplication property of equality. Now, I'm looking at this. X over 3 equals -6. What could I multiply that would cancel out that 3? Because again, remember, it's like a game. I want to isolate my x. I want to keep this by itself. That's the game. So what's hindering it? Well, what's hindering it is that 3 in the denominator. So I am going to, watch this, multiply it by 3. Because remember, 3 is also 3 over 1. Okay? So I'm going to multiply. Remember, my rule of multiplication property of equality says that I can multiply whatever I want as long as I do it to the other side. So if I multiply a 3 on that side, I must also multiply a 3 on this side. Does that make sense? So let's go ahead and write that out. It's 3 times, so you don't get confused, let's do multiplication as that dot. X over 3 equals -6 times 3. And the step that I did there was multiplication property. Multiplication prop, I'm just going to call it prop, of equality. Very good. Well, now that I do that, let me go ahead and simplify. So, check this out. And I did this intentionally. This 3 and that 3 cancel out, leaving me with an x. Do you see how my x is left by itself? So x equals, well class, what's -6 times 3? Remember, different signs? So it'll be -18. Awesome. So this is my final answer. And my last step that I did there was simply to simplify. Awesome. So let me go ahead and see if you can do that on your own. Let's do some on your own. So are you ready? If not, pause it and write that all down. If you still kind of don't get it, replay it and then raise your hand if you need me to explain it in person. Okay, so on your own, are you ready? Are you ready, kids? Go ahead and do this one for me. It is x over 5 equals -2. Pause it and do it. Check back for your answer. Alrighty. Your answer should have been x equals -10. Did you get it? Did you get it? High five yourselves if you did, because what you would have done here is you would have multiplied by 5 to cancel those out. Whatever you do to that side, you must do to the other. Multiply by 5, that's how you get your -10. Awesome. Okay, let me see if you can do another. Are you ready? This one is B. Yikes, that is not a B. This is a B. Okay, go ahead and do x over 12 equals 48. Okay, pause it and get it done. Check back for your answer. Alrighty, class. Student. It should have been x equals 576. Way to go. Did you get it? Did you get it? High five yourselves. What you would have done is multiply by 12. Multiply by 12. Those would have canceled. And that equals 576. Alrighty. Okay, let's move on to part B of example 1, which will be about, you might guess it right, division. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so part B asks us to solve for 18 equals negative 4y. Remember, it's like a game. What do we want to isolate? We want to isolate this y. We want it by itself. Okay? So what's bothering it? That negative 4. How can we get rid of that? Remember, inverse operations will undo it for us. It'll make it a 0. It'll 0 it out. Or actually, in this case, it would make it 1. Okay, so if I confused you right there, don't worry, let me explain it again. 18 equals negative 4y. I have a question. Let's look at this. What operation is going on here? Addition? No. Subtraction? No. Division? No. Multiplication? Yes. When that number is directly in front of the variable, that's multiplication. Negative 4y. It's saying that there are negative 4 y's. So if we're thinking about inverse operation, doing the opposite to undo it, we are going to divide. So let's see. Let's actually rewrite our problem. 18 equals negative 4y. And remember, that step is to write the equation. Then your next step will be division, property of equality. So what we're going to do here is this. We're going to divide. What are we going to divide by? Negative 4. Because check it out. Negative 4 over negative 4, what does that equal? It equals 1. And if something equals 1, then we don't need to write it. It's just y. Does that make sense? Let me show you again. Negative 4 over negative 4. Well, it's two division problems going on. It's a negative divided by a negative, so it's a positive. That should equal a 1y. And how could we write 1y? Just by having a y. That's our goal. Remember, we want to isolate our variable. Okay, and whatever we do to one side, we must do to the other. Okay, now let's write that out. We have, and remember, when I do that, when I make it a fraction like that, that essentially means division. You could write it like this, 18 divided by negative 4, but that means the same thing if you just write it as a fraction. 18 divided by negative 4 equals, well, we already said that cancels out, equals y. Okay, so remember what we did there was the division property of equality. So let's write that out. Division prop of equality. Let's try to squeeze that in here. And again, if my notes are a little quicker than you are, please just pause it and write it all down. And my next step is to simplify. 18 divided by negative 4. Well, I already know my answer will be negative, okay? Because there's only one negative sign there. So, once you do the math, 18 divided by negative 4, you will come to 4.5, negative 4.5 equals y. And my step there was to simplify. If you're wondering, Miss Chan, how did you get that negative 4.5? Well, I just divided. And for those who need to see that visually, it goes like this. 18 divided by negative 4. How many times does 4 go into 18? 4 times. That's a 16. Divide that, subtract that. That's a 2. Bring that down, 0. How many times does negative 4 go into 20? It goes into 5 times, so my answer is negative 4.5. Does that make sense? If not, replay it until it does, or raise your hand and I'll come around to you. Awesome job. Let's go ahead and do some on your owns. We are almost done with example 1. Okay, let's go ahead and do it. On your own. Okay, so this one is A, and I want you to try negative A equals negative 24. Ooh, tricky, tricky. Remember, what's really in front of that A right there? Okay, go for it. Check back. Your answer should be A equals 24. Did you get it? Did you get it? Because what you're doing here is this. You're dividing by negative 1. Cancels. Divided by negative 1. Well, check that out. You have a negative over a negative. That should equal a positive. So that's how you get your positive 24. Okay, you ready? Let's go ahead and do a B. And then you will be done with example 1. B. Okay. 3 equals negative 1.5n. Okay, go ahead and try it. Pause it if you didn't. Okay, so your answer should be n equals negative 2. Did you get it? High five yourself if you did. If not, let me go ahead and show you quickly. You're going to divide 1.5. Cancels out. Divide by 1.5. If you do that, it equals, so you divide by negative. Ooh, careful. Always carry your negatives over. Okay, so then that is negative 2. If I could write a 2 properly. Awesome. Okay, go ahead and move on.